Hi, my name is Vanguel Tangarov. I'm the principal clarinet of Austin Lyric Opera. It is my pleasure and privilege to participate in this year's edition of the program I Compete in Texas '09. During the following presentation, I'll give you some ideas and advices about how to organize your time, how to practice, how to analyze, phrase, and interpret the music, and how to realize your highest musical goals. The key for successful preparation of the etudes is to make a strict plan that will help you to achieve your goals on a daily basis. It probably sounds very complicated, but in fact it's easy to accomplish, especially when you begin planning earlier. My goal as a teacher is to help you to create your own practice system and learn the etudes in 6 weeks. The success of this plan depends on the length and the frequency of your practice session. In the following video presentation, we'll go over different warm-up exercises, technical issues, practice methods, and routines in order to make your preparation process more creative and enjoyable. This year's All-State Clarinet Etudes exemplify different styles and instrumental techniques, but from historical point of view, all of these studies represent music from the Romantic period. Romanticism is a complex artistic and intellectual movement embodied most strongly in the visual arts, music, and literature that originated in the second half of the 18th century in Western Europe. Continuing from the classical traditions of architectural organization of the musical structure and formal design, the Romantic composers were more oriented to represent the human emotions and imagination as the source for their musical ideas.
The 4-Mallet etude for your all-state music this year is Cane. This is a selection that I wrote. It's in my book called Marimba, Technique Through Music. I was honored and pleased when I found out that I would have the opportunity to be able to present this music to you as part of the all-state music. It's such an honor to be associated with some of the other composers that are listed here on our all-state list as well. Morris Goldenberg, who is a PAS Hall of Famer, who performed in the New York Philharmonic and taught in New York for many, many years. And of course, Vic Firth, who is an outstanding timpanist and educator and businessman through his company, Vic Firth. So I'm happy to be part of this group of composers for you this year. And this piece here is very special to me. All of the titles of the etudes in my book are actually from roads where I've lived, or addresses. And Cane is where my family lived for many years, outside of Richmond, Virginia, in a really small community called Short Pump, Virginia, if you can believe it. So Cane Road, this is one of my favorite tunes in the book, and it primarily focuses on double vertical strokes. So let's talk a little bit about that, how we're going to hold the mallets, and how we're going to create this music. First off, we do not have to play the whole etude. We're only going to go to from the beginning up to bar 35, which is that double F that's marked on the second page, about midway down, third system down. Now, being at a 4-mallet etude, there are lots of ways to hold the mallets with holding 2 sticks per hand. The method that I'm using is called the Musser-Stevens grip, which is developed by Claire Musser and adapted by Lee Stevens. Primarily, it's a non-cross-stick grip where the sticks don't touch and the sticks rotate independently from each other, creating the interval changes and the strokes. The other methods that you can possibly use would maybe be a Burton grip, where the sticks cross, and this is primarily used by Gary Burton and for vibraphone. Stick comes across.
Henry Kling was born in 1842 in Paris. He was fortunate enough to have studied under horn virtuoso Jacob Dorn in his youth. He was probably just about your age when he started, maybe a little younger. He had many more musical interests besides playing the horn, much like you probably do too. He conducted, he played the organ, he wrote music, and he taught a lot. In fact, he became a professor of horn and solfege at the Geneva Conservatory at the young age of 23. Mr. Kling is most well known for his teaching method entitled Hornschule, and also for the etude book we are working out of now. So let's go ahead and get started on those and have some fun. Okay, so hopefully you have your music out, and it's helpful if you go ahead and number your measures. Hopefully you've done that by now. So the first goals that we want to achieve with number 19 is a fun, lively scherzo style. Scherzo is sort of a word that means a couple of different things. It means dance-like or a joke. So that's why if we say fun and lively, that should cover both. We also have the goal of having rhythmic precision with the triplets. And this could be tricky as we get into the upper tempos. We also want to have ease of technique and finger work and the proper articulations. So first, let's warm up using specific exercises that will help you to execute this etude. We're going to talk about breathing first. You've got many phrases that are long and jam-packed with notes, and while they go by pretty fast, we all know that any phrase can seem like an eternity if you're running out of breath. So we need to prepare by expanding our lung capacity so that we can get through these sections with more ease. What I'd like to show you is what I call the sip breath, and what we'll do is
be just the same thing for you. A tone exercise and a vibrato exercise always first before you practice your technical things. Because if you go straight into the music, what you'll find is that you have ignored the element of tone. Maybe you're just only practicing the fingerings or the articulation, and the tone won't be very good. Someone told me when I was young that it was mostly important that people had to want to listen to you because your music must be beautiful. And that's very true, especially for flute, because the flute is a wonderful instrument. It's an instrument that everyone loves to listen to. So make sure that whenever you play, whether it's 7 in the morning or 7 at night or a weekend day or a school day, that you always make everything you play with a wonderful tone. If you make a wonderful tone and you make a wonderful habit to make a tone, then you will make a much better score, you'll make a much better impression, and you will enjoy practicing more. So those are my most important things, which are to make a plan for your practice. Sit down with your schedule, get a notebook that's devoted specifically to your tryout music. And
whereas the other instruments have a long lineage, the saxophone is a relatively new instrument. The saxophone was invented by Adolph Sax in the 1840s. This may seem old, but remember that some of the other instruments date back hundreds of years before that. Because of the saxophone's late induction to the wind family, it had a difficult time in finding an instructor, music, and instructional material. In fact, many of the etudes in the selected studies book were not written for saxophone, but adopted so that early saxophonists had learning materials to improve their skills. The etudes we'll be discussing today deal with music fundamentals such as tone, technique, keys, scales, phrasing, dynamics, articulation, and other elements concerned with the pedagogy of the saxophone. Let's get started.